public meeting of August 25th, 2011 is called to order. Please refrain from talking amongst yourselves during the meeting, and please turn off or put on vibrate all cell phones and pagers. If you need to talk, please leave the meeting room. Anyone who wishes to speak, including applicants, is asked to completely fill out one of the speaker's cards provided at the table by the front door and submit it to staff. You'll be called to present a case or speak on a specific item as desired. Anyone who wishes to be re-noticed about a project must completely fill out one of the postcards provided at the table by the front door and submit it to staff to receive notice of subsequent meetings. Current DRB agendas are available by calling our DRB hotline at 818-548-3171 or by visiting our website at www.ci.glendale.ca.us. A handout describing the procedures of the meeting, possible board decisions, and DRB reconsideration and appeals is available at the table by the front door. Please note that appeals must be filed within 15 calendar days of the DRB decision date. The chairperson may reorder agenda items at his or her discretion. Roll call. Mr. Ellis? Absent. Mr. Insua?
Here.
Ms. Palmer?
Here.
Mr. Simonian?
Present.
Mr. Yu is absent. Report regarding the posting of the agenda. The agenda for this meeting was posted on the bulletin board outside City Hall at or before 5 p.m. on August 18th, 2011. Oral communications. Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to speak on an item not a part of the agenda? Any cards by any chance? Nope. Okay. Then with no oral communications, we're down to our review calendar. Under staff announcements, staff does have one announcement. If the board recalls, you all received a letter at the meeting last week, or 2 weeks ago, regarding the Trader Joe's project. Staff did a little more research. And while the rendering of the building may have been a little bit misleading in terms of its relation to its neighbor, the building is being constructed per the approved plans, the plans that you approved, as well as I believe there was a CUP for alcohol and a variance for the sign. So the building is being constructed per plans, and we periodically go out and do some checking. So that's the staff announcement. We just have one case on the agenda. It's a regular item, and so we can begin.
Do you want to go ahead and...
Sure. Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board. The next case, or actually the first case and only case for you this evening, is 1-PDR 2011-022A at the address of 3458 Santa Carlotta Street. The project is to construct an attached 275 square foot first level addition, and directly above it is a 194 square foot second level addition to an existing one-story single family residence. The board's review is required since the project proposes an additional floor level. And now I'm going to go into the site details. The subject lot is approximately 6,700 square feet in size. It's irregular in shape, and the topography slopes downward from the front from Santa Carlotta to the rear portions of the property. So it has this subtle downward topography. The property was developed in 1950 with a single-family residence, approximately 1,200 square feet, and with a two-car garage that is approximately 377 square foot, and it was built in a minimal traditional style. The zone of the property is R1. The surrounding properties are also zoned R1 and developed with the single-family dwellings. The site landing of the property, in short, the addition will take place at the rear, and the site planning is not really visible from Santa Carlotta, so the visibility from it will not change. The mass and scale, staff believes it's sufficiently related well to the surrounding neighborhood, and once again, since the addition is located at the rear, and that the addition will be set at a lower than the existing grade. It will further reduce the bulk of the appearance. So staff believes that massive scale has been done pretty well. There are some details that staff recommends as far as what the conditions should, that the board should consider. I know in the summary it says east property line. That's a mistake. It's actually the west property line. Staff would suggest that the applicant should set back. I'm going to approach the board really quick. Set back the rear addition a minimum of 1 foot additional and not continue in line with the existing plane. As you can see from this elevation on the west elevation, it would provide more of a, it would create more of an interest and not have such a long blank or actually a facade that's just kind of monotonous. Just on to architectural design and details. Overall, staff believes it's been designed well and it appears to be harmonious with the neighborhood. There is I know the plans up on the board state vinyl windows. They did change it, and I apologize that the staff didn't have the minimized copies. It still says fiberglass, but the applicant has changed it for the materials to be vinyl. But staff does recommend within its conditions to have the windows have a block frame installation with wood sills and surrounds to match the existing and the front portions of the property. But overall, staff recommends approval with the following conditions. One, the addition along the west property line should be recessed a minimum 1 foot away to reduce the bulk appearance and to provide a visual interest. And two, the windows at the addition should be block frame installation with wood sills and surrounds. And three, the windows at the addition should have external muttons to match the existing window pattern and complement the original home. This pretty much concludes staff's presentation and available for questions, as well as the applicant. I can see the audience.
Are all the windows being replaced, or are just the windows at the rear that we're talking about?
The window schedule provided by the applicant only demonstrates the windows at the addition only.
Okay, so we could verify that with the applicant as well. And is this this is an R1 zone, correct?
That is correct.
And as far as guest rooms are considered, which is what's being proposed here, do they have to be directly attached and accessed from inside of the unit per code?
That's a good question. Because the way that the code defines in the guest house, it says it is an accessory structure. But this is technically attached to the home, so it doesn't follow or actually
Correct.
Defined by the code. We cannot consider it an accessory structure, so therefore it's not defined by code as a guest house, even though it's directly accessible from the exterior. I question the same thing, and that's why I know the answer. So.
Okay, just wanted to get your take on it. Those are all my questions at this point.
Mr. Insula? Okay, with that, I have one speaker card. Mr. Rabbani, if you could come up, state your name and address for the record.
Sean Rabbani.
Do you have anything to discuss regarding
Yes, so
this
just
project?
the three issues that Mr. Joe has brought up. I talked to Mr. Soon, the owner. I think we agreed to go with the windows, the two items by the windows. But the 1 foot setback, I see two issues there. One is that structurally, because we're going also down to the grade, and when it doesn't line up, it's going to jeopardize a little bit of the structural part of the house. I think it's better structurally if it lines up. And the second one is the issue that I have with the aesthetics is that I designed it, and the owner's goal is, and I think the board goal is, we design it somehow to be part of the house so it doesn't look like an addition, that it's been slapped, just in the back of the house. I think we're just moving that 1 foot, and it's going to look like an addition, and it's just going to look like it's been done afterwards. And from inside also, we're going to have a little niche of 1 foot in the master bedroom. So it's from outside and inside, it's just doesn't work.
Okay. Questions? I have one question. You show the railing on the elevations.
Right.
The railing shown on the elevations doesn't match the railings that are out there, so is it going to be like what's out there or what's on the drawings?
The one for the balcony,
Yes.
yeah, it's going to match with the other. They have a little patio that in this
It
side
has
that goes
6-inch
width.
wide boards on it.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
just going
the
by-
rendering, I think maybe they didn't do the right, but I wrote in there to match.
So you're going to
existing.
match
Right.
the existing.
I
Okay.
noted it there.
I think that's the only question I have. Anything else you want to comment on?
No,
Okay. All right, we'll close the public session. Thank you.
thank you.
Mr. Simonian? Would you rather not?
No, we'll definitely start off on it. The question that I had to staff about the accessories building and the access to it is really my number one issue that popped up. Because as I'm looking at this building, in order to access this new lower level, you need to go outside, and then you need to go down the steps and to walk in. And in addition to that, it just the way it's laid out almost lends itself to being used, frankly, as a rental very easily. It almost has an area for a kitchenette as well. And so, in an R1 design, zoned area, it seems as though when we're adding, especially livable space that's attached to the home, I think diagrammatically, conceptually, and conceptually, I guess more than anything, should be access from the interior of the home, because once it has its own separate entrance and once it's accessed from the backyard, from an area not within the house, then it really has the makings of a rental unit in an R1 zone. So that was my big concern with the layout and the way it's proposed. The home actually has some really nice existing wood sills and wood surrounds, and it has some really nice wood windows from the street. And in fact, the exposed munds and the wood sills, as indicated on the pictures, do a very good job of depicting the style of the home. And I think that's important, as staff pointed out, to continue at the rear. I would also think it'd be appropriate to match the windows as closely as possible. Well, we'll ask the applicant if all the windows are going to be changed or just the ones in the rear. But that's if we're just talking about the rear, it would be I'm okay with it vinyl just because it's not visible from the street. At the same time, though, the style of it being block frame, external munds, and having the wood sills and the wood surrounds, I think, would be important. And so, in reference to the facade and the articulation that is required, I think that's also a good point. As we look at that west facade, it's certainly just one big blend, stucco facade, and it could use some articulation, whether on the first floor or second floor. It's doable. When I'm looking at the floor plan on the second level, it's a very large bedroom, and it certainly, I don't think, would hurt it or cause too much hardship for it to move in 1 foot. But that's just something that we always ask for, and it's not just special to this home. We don't like to see one big facade, and it's always important to provide that articulation, especially if the home is abutting other homes and it's going to be viewed from other buildings as well. So those are kind of my major thoughts on it, and I'd love to kind of have further dialogue with the other board members on this.
Mr. Insua?
Okay. Well, working backwards, I think the comments and the conditions that concerning the windows, I think, is a good one, and I would support that in its current writing, that it should match what's there, and the way that staff described what they would recommend and want as a condition, I would support. And in closing, I would say the side addition on the west side, I personally think it's okay for a couple reasons. One, the addition, a third of it is sunken below the grade, the adjacent grade, so it's not your typical two-story addition, which then has the full height. I don't see it as bulky, and if you draw a line across, you can see that a third of it is already underground. I think it would be worse to put a recess in there, because I think, as the applicant is saying, for me, it does then start lending itself to an addition. Often you see additions like this that, especially in side yard setbacks, where the previous side yard setback was an X number, let's say 5, 6, 7 feet. And the new code requires a greater offset. And when that's done, you start then seeing, well, why would they do this? It's not what I would consider naturally part of this design. It's already sunken a third. I don't see it as bulky. The windows are there. I see it broken up enough. And then when I look at the site plan here, I see in its location that there really isn't an adjacent resident like you would normally have. It's in the corner. It's in everybody's backyard. It's already sloping down. I'm okay with it in its present design. Other than that, I would support the project.
Okay, I agree with the comments made. My only comment would be that the windows on the first floor that's recessed or in the ground, on the rear and the west elevation, they're right at ground level. I think that's really going to be a maintenance issue. And I understand why they're at ground level, because you're down in the ground a ways, but you might want to consider changing that, raising it up a little, or put a different kind of a window. And I think that's, I support the other comments regarding the window frames. And I also think that dividing it might be an issue. So with that, any other questions?
Staff just wants to clarify. I know you said you agreed. Are you agreeing that condition number 1 is not necessary, or do you agree with staff's recommendation as far as including condition number 1?
I don't think it's necessary, in my estimation.
Do we have a roll call, or are we done? Or
Need to have a
motion, I'm sorry?
motion.
Are you clear with the rest of the conditions? Because Ms. Palmer's last condition with the fan, I
I
didn't
think
quite
it's
hear.
more of a, not a condition, but a
Consideration?
consideration.
Are you clear with?
Can we just go over that really quick?
Yeah.
What was,
The windows on the rear, first floor and west side are at ground, the sill is at ground level, and that might be a maintenance issue. It's right level with the dirt, so they might consider raising that up or changing the window, but it's just a consideration.
okay.
And if I can just check, the board is okay with the use of vinyl block frame windows set in wood-framed openings with wood sills?
This is just for the rear addition?
Just for the rear section.
The rest of the existing windows are staying?
Do we have a
Is that
motion?
noted someplace?
Oh, I'm sorry?
Is that noted someplace? That the rest of the windows would
To
be-
make sure that the whole house doesn't change to vinyl?
Exactly.
Okay. Just, I guess, make that clear in the condition.
Make an additional condition that,
Just make it
All
clear.
Make it
existing
clear in the
windows
condition that it's just the rear
rear
windows.
windows.
And any of the front windows, if replaced, should be wood to match existing.
Okay. Okay, we can clean up the conditions. We can restructure conditions 2 and 3 to clarify that if the front windows shall remain wood, and it's okay for the rear windows to be vinyl, but we're with a wood sill
Correct.
and external muttons and so forth. So,
Mr. Simonian.
So then, a question for then staff, as far as R1 zone and having an attached addition that's not accessible from the interior of the home, are we categorizing this as an accessory building, or what are we categorizing it as?
No, it's part of the main house. It's what Dennis mentioned earlier. It's part of the main house, and certainly, if at some point they add a kitchen, a full kitchen, or other things that enable them to rent it out as a second unit. Second units are not allowed in the R1 zone, and that's where the neighborhood services gets involved. But again, I think I've mentioned this before. We can't at this point presume they're going to do anything wrong. And if you think about it, there have been, and it's becoming more common, where in the newer courtyard designed houses where a guest house or a study or something like that is really attached to the house, but is not accessible from the house. So
I understand what Board Member Simonian is asking. I'm reading directly from the code. I'm looking online, and the zoning code defines accessory building structure means a detached subordinate building or structure, the use of which customarily incidental of the main building or use located on the same lot. And then I'm going to read the definition of an accessory living quarters or guest house, which means a living quarters within an accessory building for the sole use of a persons employed on the premises or members of the household living in the main building. Such quarters have no cooking facility and are not rented or otherwise used as separate dwelling. We cannot call it, by definition by the zoning code, an accessory living quarter or guest house, because the zoning code specifically defines it as
Detached.
living quarters as being an accessory building, but the accessory building definition means it's detached.
Right.
And yeah, I understand what your question is, and
Right.
that's why I definitely looked into that.
Can we call the applicant up?
Open the session again. Mr. Rabbani, could you please come up and state your name and address for the record again?
Sean Rabbani. P.O. Box.
Simonian has
Two
a question.
questions. One regarding the windows. So the existing windows in the front are to remain,
Right.
and we're only talking about the vinyl windows that are at the rear with the addition.
Only the addition.
The addition.
The addition, we're only concerned about the addition. We're not going to touch the existing house in any form or windows and that.
And insofar as access to the guest room, why isn't there access from the interior to the guest room? What was the thought process? behind
The way I understand, first of all, the guest house is something that is separate from the house. If we have, an access from the house to it, then it's just part of the house. Then it's not a guest house anymore. It's another bedroom or a living room or a den. That's what the guest house is. It's something that is separate from the house. The physical problem was that we cannot open one from there. We have to go from the middle of the bedroom to come down to go to it, and it just doesn't work.
Well, there's always ways to make it work. Certainly doable. But you chose not to do it, which
Right.
That was my
that's what
question.
The owners want. They want like something for in-laws, or something, or a guest just to come here to stay for a while, and that's
okay.
That's why we put the door actually in this side to be part of the house.
I understand.
It's not like a door at the back so you can rent it, somebody come in and go away.
I got no other questions.
Okay.
Oh, well, may I say one more thing? About the windows, we have thought about that we're going to have some planters around the where the windows are, so we can resist that, so we can take care of the water problem over there.
Okay. Just a comment.
Yeah, that's
All right, thank you. We have a motion?
All right, I'll jump in. I'd like to make a motion to approve the project with the conditions as stated and the consideration with respect to the adjacency of the windows.
We have a second?
I conceptually have an issue with access to the unit from not being from within. I just don't understand why there can't be access. So if the board chooses to approve it, you could pass the gravel along and we'll go from there. Now you could second it.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. This will be, I have a motion from Board Member Insua and a second from Board Member Palmer. This will be roll call. Board Member Insua?
Yes.
Board Member Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Chair Simonian?
No.
We have a 2-0 vote as
a one
approval. I'm sorry, 2-1. I apologize. A 2-1 vote with the conditions as addressed during the discussion. So, yeah.
All right, we're down to the minutes portion of our agenda, and actually I took a quick look when you were discussing. Because of the absences, we don't have a quorum for any of those minutes, so we'll have to put them again to the next agenda.
I move we adjourn then.
All right, very good, thank you.